Why Nagaland killings have rekindled debate on AFSA, AFSPA. AFSA has often been criticized as a draconian act for the unbridled power it gives to the armed forces and the impunity that security personnel enjoy for their actions taken under the law. The recent killings of civilians by security forces in a case of alleged mistaken identity in Nagaland has once again rekindled the debate over the Armed Forces Special Powers Act AFSPA, a law that gives enormous discretionary powers to the armed forces over a civilian population. Addressing reporters after attending the funeral services of the civilians at Uting in Nagaland, Mon district, Chief Minister Neiphiu Rio said he has urged the center to remove AFSPA from Nagaland as the law is a black spot on the image of the country, saying that he was deeply saddened by the loss of lives in Uting village. Meghalaya Chief Minister Conrad Sangma has also demanded the repeal of APSA in the aftermath of the killings in Nagaland. Sangma is also the president of the National People's Party, which is part of the NDA. AIM MP Asauddin Owaisi and Congress leader Pradyut Bordoloi have also raised questions over the law. We look back at how APSA was enacted, why it is controversial, and how demands for its repeal have grown louder over the years. What is APSA? APSA gives armed forces special powers to control disturbed areas which are designated by the government when it is of the opinion that a region is in such a disturbed or dangerous condition that the use of armed forces in aid of civil power is necessary. Under its provision, the armed forces have been empowered to open fire and enter and search without warrant and arrest any person who has committed a cognizable offense, all while having immunity from being prosecuted. Where is APSA in effect now? APSA can be implemented in an area after it has been declared as disturbed. The power to declare a territory disturbed initially lay with the states but passed to the center in 1972. Section 3 of APSA in J&K say that an area can be declared disturbed if it is in the opinion of the governor of the state or the central government which makes the use of armed forces in aid of civil power necessary. Currently, APSA is in effect in Jammu and Kashmir, Nagaland, Assam, Manipur, excluding 7 assembly constituencies of Impal and parts of Arunachal Pradesh. The law has been repealed where insurgency has subsided and when government have gained confidence of managing the region using the police force. Thus, APSA was repealed in Tripura in 2015 and in 2018 the center also removed Meghalaya from the list while also restricting its use in Arunachal Pradesh. When was APSA enacted? The law is based on the Armed Forces Special Powers Ordinance of 1942 which was issued during the Quit India movement. Enacted by Parliament on September 11, 1958, APSA was first implemented in Northeast and then in Punjab. On August 18, 1958, the bill on measures to battle the Naga insurgency in the then state of Assam was introduced in Lok Sabha and debated for 2 hours. Discussions followed in Rajya Sabha on the 25th, 27th, 28th of the same month. Home Minister Govind Vallabh Pant called the proposed law a very simple measure to control the misguided Nagas indulging in mischievous activities. The law was needed, he argued, as it was not feasible over such a vast area to depute civil magistrate to accompany the armed forces wherever there may be trouble because it happens unexpectedly. The bill was passed without an amendment amid fierce opposition in the Lok Sabha. Replying to a debate in the Rajya Sabha, the then Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru defended the law, saying, "No infirm government can function anywhere. Where there is violence, it has to be dealt with by government, whatever the reason for it may be, because otherwise you drift, the country drifts into, if I may use the word, fascist methods, all groups, private groups and others indulging in violence and trying to coerce the government authority by organized violence." So why is the law controversial? APSA has been often criticized by a draconian act for the unbridled power it gives to the armed forces and the impunity that security personnel enjoy for their actions taken under the law. Under APSA, the armed forces may shoot to kill or destroy a building on mere suspicion. A non-commissioned officer and anyone or equivalent rank and above may use force based on opinion and suspicion to arrest without warrant or to kill. He can fire at anyone carrying anything that may be used as a weapon, with only such due warning as he may consider necessary. Once APSA is implemented, no prosecution shall be instituted except with the previous sanction of the central government in respect of anything done or purported to be done under the Act. The Jeevan Reddy Committee, formed in 2004, had recommended a complete repeal of the law. The Act is a symbol of hate, oppression, and instrument of high handedness, the body said. How has APSA been received by the people? Irmam Sarmila, known as the Iron Lady of Manipur, has been a towering figure who is well known for her 16-year-long hunger strike against APSA. In November 2000, when Iram was 28 years old, 7 civilians were allegedly gunned down by the 8th Assam Rifles at Malom Makha Lekhei near Impal's Tulihal Airport. The infamous incident is commonly known as the Malom Massacre. The massacre prompted Iram to begin a hunger strike against the atrocities in Malom, which later developed into a prolonged hunger strike against the APSA. 3 days after she began her fast, Iram was arrested for attempting suicide. Thereafter, her hunger strike against APSA continued for 16 years. During this time, she was often force-led through a rail stew. Iram ended her hunger strike on August 9, 2016. APSA was withdrawn from the Impal municipal area in 2004 after several civil society campaignings, the hunger strike by Iram Sarmila being the most high profile of them, public mobilizations in Manipur. Over the years, Manipur has witnessed many protests against alleged extrajudicial killing by the armed forces. There was a huge backlash across the state in 2004 when the bullet-ridden body of Thangja Manorama, who was raped and murdered alleged by a group of Assam riflesmen, was found at Bamon Kampu village in Impal East district. The incident led to widespread protest in Manipur and the rest of India. On July 15, around 30 Manipuri women marched naked in Impal city with a banner that read, "Indian Army Rape Us." On July 24, 5 young men tried immolating themselves in front of CM's office. What has Supreme Court said about APSA? In 2016, Supreme Court delivered a stinging rebuke to the government over the continuation of APSA. The Supreme Court judgment clarified that the notion that the Act provides a free hand to security forces is flawed. Ruling on a petition filed by Extrajudicial Execution Victims Families Association, a representative platform of people in Manipur whose kin have allegedly been killed by security forces, the court held that due process needs to be allowed in civilian complaints reports from areas under the APSA, and that the Act doesn't provide blanket immunity to army personnel in anti-insurgency operation. The continuance of the Act in any region for extended period symbolizes, according to the Apex Court, failure of the civil administration and the armed forces. The Apex Court also ruled that over 1500 cases of alleged fake encounters in Manipur over the last 20 years must be investigated. IFAM has alleged that since the 1970s there has been 1528 fake encounters in Manipur. Human rights activists blame APSA for the killings, alleging that the law gives blanket protection to the army and the Manipuri commandos to kill with impunity. They also allege that these are just the recorded cases and that instances of people simply disappearing have gone unreported over the years. Thank you.